Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Y'all gonna know why we're here. It starts at week number 2. And you know what? I'm rocking my Marshawn Lynch Bills jersey because it is victory weekend, baby. Screw the victory Monday. We're doing it all weekend long, but you guys know the deal. It is rapid fire. Every team, every player. Hit that like button for me. Like always, you guys did awesome last week. Do it again and drop your start state questions in the comments. I will definitely get back to y'all, but let's start off with those Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray losing to the Buffalo Bills in supreme ugly fashion in that second half. While Kyler still did get, 14 points, just missed the boom game. Still on the low risk, man. The rushing upside is definitely there as the Arizona Cardinals trying to figure out their new offensive look. And yes, okay, the biggest problem was the lack of usage for a Marvin Harrison Jr. I think they rectify that this week in a very big way, taking on those LA Rams. Coming off a loss themselves to the Detroit Lions, Kyler is a definite low risk rushing upside. No Aaron Donald. We saw how the Detroit Lions were able to run all over them, especially late in the contest. Kyler is definitely a fire up, as is James Conner. Boom game. He did very well. I called him on a TD upside last week, and he repaid with a touchdown score, 17.8 points. You absolutely fire up at James Conner once again to the detriment of a Trey Benson low floor. I was thinking maybe they're going to start utilizing him maybe about, week 5, 6, 7, unless Conner does go down with an injury. We should start to see split touches come a little bit more frequent as the weeks do get on. This week, definitely not in the case. Low floor for me. You keep him on the wire or on your bench, wherever he is. The biggest question, what do we do with Marvin Harrison Jr.? And I'm telling y'all, low risk, baby. They didn't draft this man where they drafted him to keep him in the shackles. Yes, some of the blame does go to his side where he was kind of strolling out there rather than running full speed, but he was wide open on a blown coverage by the Bills, and Kyler missed him, so it would have looked a lot better this week. I totally foresee 6 to 8 targets coming his way. He is a start for me. I'm going to bank on it. If I'm wrong, I'm going down with the ship because I don't care. We got to start Marvin Harrison Jr. this week, low risk. Michael Wilson did see a touchdown score, but it is low upside. 1 target, 1 touchdown. Not much to look at there. Greg Dortch does find his way back to fantasy relevance. PPR upside, man, 8.1 points for a flex play is not terrible. And given this fact that he may still be one of the most trusted guys when it comes to PPR upside on this Arizona Cardinals offense, Trey McBride, TD upside once again for him. Lack of targets coming his direction as well. As everyone's talking about Marvin Harrison, let's talk about Trey McBride and the lack of usage. The Buffalo Bills did a very good job locking him up, so TD upside on the mid-level risk for me in that sense for Trey McBride. Atlanta Falcons taking on the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Kirk Cousins, he did not look good. Let's be real about it, man. He looked like a really rusty and a lot of worse for wear. Second game going up against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. It's not going to be easy, man. While the defensive front of the Eagles is still very good, Nakobe Dean was playing absolutely lights out and finally showing what I did believe in a Nakobe Dean. They're going to be coming after these Atlanta Falcons on the offensive side. Low floor on the mid-level risk for Kirk Cousins. 8 points last week. Not good. No bueno. We don't like it. I am not touching Kirk this week as well. Bijan, low risk. 13 points. They utilized him a lot, but it only got him 13. Man, we got to see some touchdowns coming from this Atlanta Falcons offense, including a Bijan. You're obviously firing him up everywhere you got him. Tyler Algier, high-level risk, not touching it. Drake London on the mid-level risk I had him on mid-level last week. I told y'all it was still a concern until they get the chemistry building in this offense to be that much better. As soon as Kirk starts feeling himself a little bit more, then we could see Drake London, showcase the fact of what we believe he is. There will be questions, though, when it comes to about midway point of the season. Is Drake really this good that everyone believes if he does not pan out? So this week, I'm still going to go on the mid-level risk flex option. If you got better options to take them on your bench, I would definitely consider it. So definitely keep that one in your back pocket. Throw it in the comments if you got Drake London with other options. It definitely help you out in that regard. Darnell Mooney, I had him on the sleeper last week. Totally disappointed. Low upside on the red for me. Got to see it in this offense before I preach it up anymore. Ray McLeod on the other side, PPR upside, kind of like a Greg Dortch, 7.2. This all half PPR, by the way. Okay, you're not playing Ray McLeod. It was a lot of, dump offs and you can't stomach it. Can't do it at this point. If Ray does become the secondary target in this offense for Kirk Cousins, that's going to be a revelation. And Kyle Pitts on the low risk. Told y'all he's going to get a touchdown last week, and he did repay us. You fire him up again everywhere you got him. Baltimore Ravens taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm shocked the Raiders lost to those Chargers the way that they were, but hey, everything does happen for a reason, and these Baltimore Ravens got to get back on track in a very big way. Biggest rumor mill out of the gates right now was Coach Harbaugh talking that they did not sign a Derrick Henry to use him 30 times a game, and I'm saying, why the hell aren't you? I think that's semantics and coach speak. I really, truly believe the way they played last week was not good, and I mean, outside of, finding some key openings for an Isaiah Likely, this offense was very much piss poor overall. Even though Lamar Jackson, he did rush the football a lot, you keep this up with a Lamar Jackson all season long, and he's going to find his way into the medical room before you could even blink an eye. Stud start still for a Lamar Jackson. Absolutely, he's going to get his points. Derrick King Henry, stud start for me. I'm not buying the coach speak whatsoever. They will come back and feed a Derrick Henry this week. End zone trip versus the Raiders. Abso-freaking-lutely. Justice Hill, he did surprise me with the PPR upside, 8.5. I'm going to caution the start this week. I think there are better options all over the league. I want to see if they're going to continue down this path. I think the way that they started the game against the Chiefs in week 1, it just was, it was kind of a script breaker, and they just started utilizing Justice Hill in that screen game and dump off passes. I'm not going to do it this week, even though I got a mid-level PPR upside for a Justice Hill. Zay Flowers, mid-level risk. It's going to be one of these Hollywood Brown effects in Baltimore for Zay Flowers. Boomer bust potential every week. He does have a decent floor. I mean, you got 8 points last week, so it's going to hover anywhere from 7 to 11 points unless he finds his way into that end zone. So flex appeal, wide receiver 2-3 is kind of where I'm going for Zay Flowers on the mid-level risk. Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, high-level risk for me, not touching it whatsoever. Even though Rashad almost had that TD, and I called sleeper TD last week, almost had it, made me look like a genius in almost senses right there. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, what do you do in this respect? A lot of people asking on this one. I just believe that, Mark Andrews coming back, obviously he played the latter part of the season last year, but I mean, coming back this year, I expected him at least to be the focal point of this offense. He was getting target share early on. It just was not working. He was slipping. He was sliding. He just wasn't getting open. And then they adjusted with an Isaiah Likely, and it worked to, absolute great ways for this offense, for lack of a better term. But this week, I do believe on the mid-level risk, it is a Mark Andrews bounce-back game. I think they're going to force feed him once again, get him back comfortable in this offense where Isaiah Likely's role is definitely here to stay, whether they're going to play him big slot now and keep them both on the field to maximize the mismatches on your double tight end sets, your 12-man personnel, and then running the football and setting up the RPO and play-action pass. I do like Mark Andrews this week. I am cautious, but I will start him once again. And Isaiah Likely, all the fab dollars that you guys did, I do like it as a big slot as well. Carolina Panthers taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Everybody is no bueno for these Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young looks horrific. This offense looks terrible. High-level risk for a Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard, I thought at least they would give him the volume, and it did not pan out either. 1.4 points. You killed how many people? I didn't say start Chuba last week. I just said be cautious with it. This week I'm saying don't even touch it. Same with Miles Sanders. High-level risk. This offense does not look good, and going up against an LA Chargers pass rush that will come and bring the bum rush on a Bryce Young. Don't like it whatsoever. Adam Thielen does have the PPR upside on the mid-level risk. Still not good enough to start for me. Deontay, low floor in the red. Xavier Legette, he's got target share floor, so at least that's an upside for this offense, for this young rookie. It's on the mid-level. He's going to get garbage time productivity. They're going to test him out, so that's kind of where you're going with that. And then Jatavion Sanders, the rookie, even though Tommy Tremble is a questionable with a hammy, the Sanders kid, if they actually start utilizing him and Legette a little bit more, you could see this offense moving that much better. Not good in Carolina. Chicago Bears taking on the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football. Caleb, and this is the thing I keep saying, it's if you're not the pure rushing upside quarterback like an Anthony Richardson, like a Jaden Daniels, we know Caleb can move. We know Caleb can run, but I told y'all it's going to take time, even though Caleb, that one toss he did on the rollout to the right, man. I told y'all, go back to scouting report on a Caleb Williams that I did. The hip torque and velocity when he's on the run is so elite in nature. Once he figures out the rest of his game, the creativity is going to be next to none. He's a mid-level risk for me this week. I would hope you got a better option out there somewhere, because it is against the Houston Texans defense that is very good, and they will challenge, especially with all the injuries that they do have. Keenan Allen dealing with a foot, Rome Odunze with a knee, both questionable to play in this contest. Likely Keenan playing, I would say caution if Rome is going to suit up in this one. I wouldn't be shocked to see him sit. Where DeAndre Swift on the mid-level risk, terrible game last week. They didn't utilize the run game near enough, and it absolutely inhibited the pass game as well. DeAndre Swift, if you got better options, I am definitely taking it this week, even though if you're in a pinch, I get the start on your flex, but it is going to be very difficult as the floor is very low on the mid-level risk. Khalil Herbert, high-level risk, not touching it this week as well until the Bears showcase the fact that they want some dedication to the run. Then we will start looking in that direction. Keenan Allen on the mid-level injury risk. At least they were looking in his direction, and Caleb did hit him in the end zone, and Keenan dropped it. Something we never saw in Los Angeles from Keenan Allen is dropping passes, so his stat line would have been a boom game had he caught that touchdown. So I do like Keenan starting this week if he does suit up. DJ Moore on the low-level risk. He's the safest one out of all these wide receivers right now, especially due to health. And then Rome Odunze, like I said, I would not start him in any leagues at this point, even if he does suit up, nursing that knee injury. And then Cole Kmet on the mid-level risk, especially if Keenan and Rome Odunze go down. It's going to be the DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, and Cole Kmet show in Chicago. Cincinnati Bengals taking on those Kansas City Chiefs. And everyone says, what the hell happened to these Cincinnati Bengals? They're all on strike, man. The owner doesn't want to pay them, and Jamar Chase and all these guys are like, the hell with this. We're not playing. Pay us our money. But Joey B, this was my fear, y'all. You go back to the offseason when I was discussing a Joe Burrow and that wrist, okay? You see him on the sidelines. He's moving the wrist around. He says, oh, I was grabbing the water bottle. But it's so clear he's moving it, trying to keep it loose. Looks like it's tightening up. The biggest problem with his thumb and wrist injury was the fact of gripping that football and having his throwing motion altered because he can't turn the football like he used to. This was my biggest concern for a Joe Burrow. You break a thumb, man, it's a big problem with your throwing hand. Low floor on the mid-level risk for me. He could come back. It is the Chiefs. He's got the Chiefs number. It's just one of those situations with how bad they looked in week one. Can they turn it around this quick versus a supreme opponent like a Kansas City Chiefs? Did they overlook the Patriots in week one just for Patrick Mahomes? It is very possible. So I'm going to say low floor on the mid-level. If you don't have any better options, I understand the start. I would look in another direction. However, if you do have a better option, Chase Brown, low floor, high level risk, didn't like it as Zach Moss did take over the lead back duties as the game wore on. So he is my pick this week if you're starting one of these guys out of this backfield. Zach Moss on the mid-level risk for me. Jamar Chase, low-level risk. You know he could pop off at any time. Just got to get him the targets. But without T. Higgins, it's double teams on a Jamar Chase all day long. You got Jermaine Burton, who falls asleep in meetings. He's a high-level risk this week. He saw no action last week. And then Andre Yosevich, I thought he would have been better. Joe Burrow just couldn't find him. Got locked up, only 4 points. Mid-level risk for Yosevich. I still like him. Not this week, though. I don't want to play many Cincinnati Bengals this week. Whether it's going to hurt me in the long run, I don't care. This week, I just don't like it. Outside of a Mike Gesicki, who did drop a touchdown, he does have some upside this week as TD appeal for Joe Burrow as well. T. Higgins, likely a doubtful in this contest. Again, Cleveland Brownies taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars and Deshaun Watson, and this Cleveland Browns team does not look good, y'all. I don't know what to tell y'all, man. Deshaun Watson, okay, he hadn't played football in quite some time, and the rust definitely showed. This offense was absolutely anemic versus the Dallas Cowboys. I thought they would have at least showed some fight. The only one that came to play was basically a Jerome Ford. Saved us his day in garbage time, 15 points. I got mid-level risk on a Deshaun Watson, low-level risk for a Jerome Ford. Like I was preaching all offseason, he's one of the best ADP running back ones you're going to get until a Nick Chubb does come back. So you ride a Jerome Ford until Nicholas Chubb does return from his injuries. I do like Ford versus Jacksonville this week as well. Pierre Strong, high-level risk, not touching it. Amari Cooper on the mid-level. Okay, 2.6 points is not going to get it done. I understand there was a drop. He almost had a touchdown. But, I mean, Deshaun Watson, he didn't look great. I mean, this offensive line is in shambles. It just was not a good day. This week for Amari Cooper, flex option with mid-level risk is probably where I'm going. Elijah Moore, high-level risk, not touching it. Jerry Jeudy called him a sleeper TD last week. He hit for us again, so I'm telling y'all he was going to be part of this offense. It's just the target share needs to be more abundant for us to trust. This week I got him on the mid-level risk because a David Njoku is out of this contest with that high ankle sprain. Jordan Akins is a PPR floor on the high-level risk. I'd rather play a Jerry Jeudy over somebody like an Akins. Dallas Cowboys taking on the New Orleans Saints, and the Cowboys look good versus those Cleveland Brownies. What can you say? Dak was efficient. He looked good, even though the point totals weren't there. The game just got out of hand so fast that they didn't necessarily have to put up the top end point productivity. CeeDee Lamb was no worse for wear as well. Looked absolutely unbelievable. Nice one-handed grabs. He's all over the field. He looks good. He looks fresh. I do like it. Start low risk for a Dak Prescott and a CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, you're firing them up everywhere you got him. Zeke Elliott did impress me, though. On the mid-level risk right now for me, I'm okay with it. I was questioning, does Zeke have anything left? But he's back home in Dallas, and he's slow. I mean, absolutely, he's cooked in matter of speaking of saying he can be a 250, touch running back in this league anymore. They're going to have to spell him from time to time, but when he's on the goal line inside the 5, Zeke is definitely still scoring touchdowns, so that's why I got him on the mid-level for me. Rico Suave, high-level risk, not touching that. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb just said start him up because where you drafted him, obviously, you're not benching him. Brandon Cooks, though, I said, it was talking about TD upside for Brandon Cooks. He scored 8 TDs last year, and this is the MO in this Dallas Cowboys offense. No more Michael Gallup, so there's no reason to force feed a Gallup and get him targets. It's CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, both on the low-level risk for me versus New Orleans Saints. So I believe Lattimore was dealing with an injury as well, so there should be some open opportunities. Jalen Tolbert and Brooks, the other wide receiver, both high-level risks. They're just there to at least take some pressure off of these wide receivers. Can't start them in fantasy. And then Luke Schoonmaker, I had him on the Boomer Bust show. I got him on the mid-level Boomer Bust risk level right now. I caution it, okay? I'm not saying start Schoonmaker. I'm just saying I'm prepping the landscape without a Jake Ferguson. I do like Schoonmaker. I think he is a underrated product, and I think he could make some waves. He is like an Andy Dalton, or Dalton Schultz, excuse me, and he could showcase that here in Dallas as they do utilize the tight ends. It is boomer bust. If you're really in deeper leagues looking for a tight end, sure, fire him up. Outside of that, let's watch and see if I'm correct on a Schoonmaker this week, because I got a sneaky suspicion he could find his way into that end zone. Denver Broncos taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bo Nix, he looked okay. He wasn't great, throwing interceptions in the worst opportune times. And this was my fear, okay? He hit an NFL record for lowest air yards for as many attempts as he had in the entire NFL 100-year history. Unbelievable, man. 3.3 yards average air yards or whatever it was. Terrible. And this was the MO coming out of Oregon. The fact that it was always passes short or behind the line of scrimmage led the FBS in that regard as well. So, I mean, they're using that same formula for a Bo Nix. You just want to see him get a little more comfortable. The rollouts, he's still throwing off of his back foot. Don't like it. High-level risk for me. Javonte Williams, low floor on the mid-level. I told you I was not good with this Denver Broncos squad this offseason, and I'm staying firm as we sit today. Do not like Javonte versus Steelers. Crazy defense. I mean, if Bijan can only get 13, Javonte doesn't stand a chance to get you a boom game. Likewise with Jaleel McLaughlin, high-level risk. There is some garbage time PPR upside in a Jaleel, but I just don't like it, especially with an Audric Estime going to the injured reserve because of an ankle injury. Cortland Sutton, mid-level risk. I mean, you're hoping for some garbage time productivity, but the Steelers got a great defense. I would look in other directions. Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, Adam Troutman, all high-level risks for me. You're not looking at any Broncos basically this week once again. Detroit Lions, what a contest we were treated to last week as it went to overtime, and David Montgomery just put the team on his back and won it with a TD, baby. And this week is much the same. Good floor on the good low-level risk for Jared Goff. I do believe this could turn into something of a shootout as we see it on Sunday. Jared Goff is impressive. I mean, they did it very differently this past week than everyone was expecting. Basically, no Amon-Ra St. Brown, limited use of a Sam Laporta, and it was all J-Mo, and at least we got to see what the speedster can do. He is very good, and he was one of my breakout potential wide receivers this offseason. Hopefully, he continues to utilize him in this offense. He is dealing with an ankle injury, though, but I do believe he is no risk to not play. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, this offense does ride with these two gentlemen. Like I said, it's going to be heavily splitted touches, series by series, and you can start both these gentlemen once again, even though the Tampa Bay Bucks still have a good, very good, strong front seven that they can come after the run. I do like the start of both these running backs because there's so much upside in both of them. Were TDs for Montgomery and pass catching ability and rushing upside for a Gibby. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 2.8 points. This is unheard of, man. This was a 93% boom rate player last year, and he got you 2 points. It hurts, man. He probably cost some of y'all some of your games this past week. It's bounce back time, man. Low-level risk for Amon-Ra. You know they're going to make a dedicated source to throw him the football. You obviously going to be playing in Amon-Ra. I think it comes back to the goods. Jameson Williams, injury risk on the mid-level. I think they give him the week off this week after what he did in that past week one. It was a great showing, so I do think we're going to go back to the well. It's going to be Amon-Ra. It's going to be Sam Laporta. Low-level risk for Amon-Ra. TD upside on the low-level risk for a Sam Laporta, and I got mid-level for a JMO. He might catch another deep one, but I totally foresee Jared Goff spreading the ball around to his playmakers. And Khalif Raymond, high-level risk, but he does have and pose some PPR upside. Green Bay Packers taking on the Indianapolis Colts. And can you believe they're listing Jordan Love as a questionable? This man, everyone was fearful he tore his ACL. There is MCL tearing happening or stretching, spraining, however you want to call it. I got to believe Malik Willis is playing. And it's just so terrible because they had Clifford, the kid from Penn State. He was at least understanding of what this playbook was. They cut him and they trade for a Malik Willis. So, I mean, you get what you get because you do dumb things. Not saying Malik Willis is a terrible quarterback. He's just super raw, and we haven't seen anything good out of him. High-level risk for Malik Willis. If Jordan Love does start, I still caution this entire offense taking a step backward because he will be limited with that mobility and that knee. Josh Jacobs, volume upside, but I am very concerned because this Colts defense did play those Houston Texans fairly well. And even though Joe Mixon ran for days, without Malik or without a Jordan Love, they're just going to stack this box and load up the run and say, dare Malik Willis to beat us. So for me, it's volume upside, but definitely on the cautionary tale. I know we got to start at Josh Jacobs, but he could underwhelm this week. Emmanuel Wilson, low floor on the high level risk. Just not enough to trust in outside of 14, 16-team leagues. Can't do it. Romeo Doubs, low floor with a Malik Willis. Don't like it whatsoever. Jaden Reed, low risk only because they're going to utilize him in jet sweeps. They're going to scheme up ways to try to get the football and maximize this rushing upside versus a Colts defense that was gashed. So I do foresee Jaden Reed at least getting his touches, even with a Malik Willis. If you want to bench a Jaden Reed, I completely understand, but at this point, what he did, 31 points, it's very difficult to put that man on your bench. Christian Watson, mid-level risk. Can't touch it this week, especially if Malik Willis does start. I will not endorse it, but mid-level risk because he should at least test for another touchdown this week. Dontavian Wicks, high-level risk, not touching it. And Luke Musgrave, he is a high-level PPR risk for me as well. Don't like it. Tucker Kraft seems to be the better option right now because he's the better blocker at the tight end spot in Green Bay. Houston Texans taking on those Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football, like I said. What a showing it was. CJ Stroud, 18 points. Excuse me, frog in my throat. But I'm telling y'all, CJ Stroud and this offense, what they required was multi-dimensional usage from the running game, and they finally got it from a Joe Mixon. 25.3 points, carried a lot of us, including myself, in a lot of leagues. CJ Stroud, low-level risk. You fire him up. Even though the Bears' defense was fairly good last week, this is a team that they haven't seen. Playing Will Levis versus CJ Stroud is two different, very different things. Fire up CJ Stroud, fire up Joe Mixon everywhere you got him as well, but I will caution the mid-level risk for a Joe Mixon. He will likely get in the end zone, but I only foresee potential more passing than rushing because they gave him so many carries last week. This might be a week off, quote-unquote, for a Joe Mixon. Still play him, though. I do like Joe. Dameon Pierce, high-level risk. He's dealing with a hamstring injury as well, not touching it. Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, fire all these gentlemen up for me. Who's going to get a lot of it? Okay, you see Stephon Diggs, okay, not a lot of target share, not a lot of air yards. Who cares? He caught 2 touchdowns, and he's going to be involved in this offense in a very big way. Stephon Diggs, fire him up. Nico Collins, 14 points. Fire him up again. He's a big-time staple in this offense, but the explosive playmaking ability where there a lot of attention is going to be from the defensive side on a Diggs and a Nico Collins, I do foresee Tank Dell having a very sound day, potential touchdown upside, boom game coming for a Tank Dell, as I mentioned to y'all in the boom or bust. Dalton Schultz, high-level risk. We are not touching that as well. Indianapolis Colts taking on those Green Bay Packers. Rich, in only fantasy football can you throw the football 9 times and still come away with almost 30 points. But those passes that he made to an Alec Pierce, absolutely phenomenal. Dropped him down the dimes and through the air, just unbelievable. Anthony Richardson is becoming a must-start every single week because of the rushing upside, but it will risk in that sense as well because, he does run the football very carelessly, and he could get injured, but you're firing up an A-Rich everywhere you got him. Likewise with it, Jonathan Taylor, low-level risk for me. Yes, he found his way into the end zone. I do believe, I'm pretty sure he did, 10 points this past week. It wasn't a great contest, but at least he saved his day in that respect. Trey Sermon not looking in that direction. Michael Pittman, mid-level risk. So these receivers do take a little bit of a haircut because of the fact fact of 9 completed passes. So it's going to be this yo-yo type of season for these guys until an A-Rich does figure out his passing upside. So you got to be careful. If you have better options, especially going up against a Jair Alexander, I would definitely take it on a Michael Pittman. If you sit him, I can absolutely agree. If you have no other better options, I get it. You got to play him because you drafted him so high. Josh Downs on the injury risk, not trusting it this week. Want to see if they're just going to give him some upside here to get some game time in to run off the dust and the rust that he does have from sitting for so long. Alec Pierce does have the good upside. Like I said last week, he's got some abilities, but I don't think it's going to be able to be the frequent, touchdown deep ball every single week. So limit or temper the expectations. There is good upside on the mid-level risk because Anthony Richardson does like this man. He can get down the field and stretch the field, and he will just toss it up, and this guy will go get it. But it is definitely a risk every single week. Adonai Mitchell, AD. So the reason with AD, it's an interesting one because there were so many opportunities. What do you have? 5 targets last week, and A-Rich just completely missed him. He could have had a wonderful game, would have been a boom game, almost a touchdown. AD's got the skills. It's just A-Rich has got to find him. So at this point, low floor, high level risk. Not going to play it this week. And Kylan Granson definitely not touching that either. Jacksonville Jaguars taking on those Cleveland Brownies. Trevor Lawrence. Can this team blow any more leads? It's unbelievable. You're leading the contest, you have control, and then you fumble the rock. You're not executing, and you're not even using your top-end players anymore. Don't understand it. This week, low-level risk for a Trevor Lawrence. The way Dak Prescott was able to carve up this defense, I foresee a lot of good things coming for this Jaguars team as well. Travis Etienne, he could have had a touchdown, easy run-in, fumbles the football, and that's what changed the game, the whole course of the game versus the Miami Dolphins. I fully expect a Travis Etienne to have a big bounce back, even though he did have 10 points. I fully expect them to utilize him once again, get that confidence back. But what was a nice look was a Tank Bigsby usage. There could be some more split touches coming, but at this point, high-level risk, not going to start him this week. Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas, mid-level for all 3 of these gentlemen until we understand how this usage is going to go. Brian Thomas did find his way into the end zone last week, so again, he will get the TD upside looks where Gabe Davis was, used sparingly all over the field, and then they basically looked away from Christian Kirk and an Evan Ingram, where I do believe this week Evan Ingram will see a rebound in a very big way. Bounce back for an Evan Ingram. Fire him up everywhere you got him, and if you got a Brian Thomas, I'm okay with that one as well. I do like the play, no question. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Patrick Homeboy, long rest after the opening Thursday Night Football contest. Stud start for me, especially the way this Cincinnati Bengals defense was absolutely carved up by the run game. Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to dissect this defense in a very big way. Stud start for a Patrick Mahomes. Low-level risk for an Isaiah Pacheco. Okay, 14 points. Like I said, going back to his ADP show that I did make, the risk was too high for me based on where you had to draft him, but he did look good, and they will utilize him. There is really nobody in the backfield to take away his touches, but he's such a violent runner that eventually he's going to find his way into that medical room. He threw up on the sidelines and then came back in. I thought, oh, here we go. He's already injured, but at least he came back. Low-level risk. You're obviously firing up Pacheco everywhere you got him. Rashee Rice is the staple and standard in this offense right now. Fire him up with extreme confidence, where Hollywood Brown, he's now sent to the IR with that shoulder injury. Now that they see what Xavier Worthy is doing, you guys know Xavier Worthy was my dude. High upside on the mid-level risk. He is going to be capped just a little bit if they don't test him deep, but they will give other opportunities. And all the stuff that the Bengals defensive backs were talking, saying Worthy can only run straight lines, get ready for an Xavier Worthy show. So if you play him this week, I'm absolutely on board with that as well. Justin Watson, high-level risk. He gets sprinkles from time to time. And then a mid-level risk, I can't believe I'm saying that, for a Travis Kelce. You're playing him, but definitely watch out. Your TD's definitely needing to save his day this week as well. Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Carolina Panthers. Justin Herbert and the new Harbaugh offense here in Los Angeles. Run the football, and run the frickin' football. Kind of like he did at Michigan with the Wolverines. Justin Herbert, only 10 points. Wasn't asked to do a whole heck of a lot, and they still won the football game. So that's going to be how they do this. Yes, Herbert is dealing with a foot injury already, but you could play him, I think, on the low-level risk. Carolina is so bad. We saw what they were. This defense could not do last week, and I foresee at least this offense. This is like a get-right game early in the season. It's so nice to have these games. It is in Carolina, and I don't think the Chargers are going to take this team lightly. They will run the football a lot, but I do foresee Herbert getting at least 2 tutties this week. Gus the Bus, touchdown upside on the mid-level risk. Don't like it. I am going with my dude. J.K. Dobbins once again said it was a good one last week. If he's healthy, he's going to run. Low risk for me. Start him and fire him up everywhere you got him. Josh Palmer is dealing with an injury right now on his knee, and it was no practice on a Friday, so he may not suit up in this contest. Massive injury risk if he does sit. Now we got Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, and others hopefully going to help the cause with a Will Disley. I don't like QJ this week. He's just got to show me something before I can trust it in fantasy. I would much rather start a Ladd McConkey on the mid-level risk. He found his way into the end zone for his first touchdown, and Hayden Hurst and Will Disley. I am not touching these tight ends this week as well. Even though it is a revenge game for Hayden Hurst going up against those Panthers, I don't really like it this week, even though Hurst could find his way into the end zone. Los Angeles Rams taking on those Arizona Cardinals. Matthew Stafford, the most underrated superstar ever. Matthew Stafford does things with his football that, if Mahomes did it, you'd have Chris Collinsworth, choking on something, you know what I'm saying? But it's just one of those things. Matthew Stafford is so good. He's been so consistent for so long. Those passes, that one pass he made on Sunday Night Football was absolutely incredible. I don't even know how he got it off. It was unbelievable. Low-level risk for me, the way Josh Allen was able to dissect this defense. Matthew Stafford should be able to do that, even though Puka Nacua is gone on IR, gone for 4 weeks, potentially longer with that knee injury. Now they're going to have to readjust and reevaluate how they do attack this Cardinals defense. Kyron Williams is the staple, man. 12 points last week for Kyron. Could have been much more, but it was the Cooper Kupp show. 25 points for Cooper Kupp. You're obviously firing up a Matthew Stafford low-level risk. Kyron, it's not even a question. Fire him up. Blake Corum, high-level risk for me. Until we see him actually get on the field, then we can start talking about him because he is a good running back. Maybe, McVay knows what he's doing with these running backs to nurse them along till they are ready. Cooper Kupp, low-level risk. He will not get 14 receptions every single week, but his stat line will absolutely increase because he knows that there is no Puka. It is back to Cooper Kupp being force-fed. Who's going to take the secondary role? A lot of y'all saying it's Tyler Johnson. You guys know I'm a big Tyler Johnson fan from Minnesota. Loved his game coming out. I got Demarcus Robinson. Just the way that he plays football in this offense, he's used to it. I mean, Matthew Stafford is comfortable with him, especially in key red zone opportunities inside the 20-yard line. Robinson should absolutely find the end zone this week. Very good floor on the low-level risk or PPR upside on the mid-level for a Ty Johnson. Limit your expectations as well for that one. There could be a big-time fail. It's just coming into that contest last week. You had to understand Matthew Stafford had to throw to somebody, and Ty Johnson did look okay. Colby Parkinson, big fan I am, 6.7 points last week, and that's good for how crappy all the tight ends did across the league. So mid-level risk for me. They will spread the ball around quite a bit. If you have Parkinson in a deeper league, I do not dislike the start again. Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Gardner Minshew, low floor. It just did not look good. What did we expect? I told y'all when it was talking about, this offseason stuff, when it was like, what are we expecting from a Gardner Minshew? Because he's got guys like Devontae, Jacoby Myers. It's the same Gardner Minshew, man. You're talking maybe, 3,500 yards? Maybe 20 touchdowns? Maybe? I mean, it's never happened in his career, and he's still struggling to, throw guys open. It's a big problem. He'll have his games from time to time, but it's not going to happen this week. Low floor for a Minshew, not touching it. Zamir White, Alexander Madison. High-level risk for me when it came into drafting him based on his ADP this offseason was Zamir Zeus White, even though I'm a huge Zeus supporter. Alexander Madison was the better running back, and it's clear that they're going to continue to utilize the hot hand and split touches in this offense. There is no question in my mind. This week, you got to believe they got to control the clock, keep Lamar Jackson off the field, so a big heaping of running from Zeus and Madison should be here. Just can they be successful versus a very strong Baltimore Ravens defense? Devontae Adams, you got to say it's low risk because at any point he can absolutely help out a Minshew and score a touchdown. I'm going to say low risk. You got to play him. Unfortunately, it sucks, but you got to understand 8 points could be your ceiling once again. You're hoping for at least, 6, 7 targets and a touchdown. Hopefully he gets you 80 yards in that 12-point range. It's going to be very difficult for Devontae in this offense with a Minshew. Jacoby Myers, PPR upside on the mid-level risk. Flex appeal definitely here as well. Trey Tucker not touching it. And Brock Bowers on the low-level risk. 8 points. It was a good showing. He looked good. And I mean, it's just scratching the surface. He is an elite caliber tight end, and he will showcase that absolutely firing up a Brock Bowers. Minnesota Vikings taking on the 49ers now without Christian McCaffrey once again. Sam Darnold hit, his first 100 passes? He was looking good. No Jordan Addison this week. He rolled that ankle. He is out of this contest, so Sam Darnold should be able to force feed a Justin Jefferson on the regular. Mid-level risk, even though the 49ers defense is so good. I do not like the start, but I do think there is points potentially to be had even in garbage time upside, so that's the only reason why I got mid-level on a Sam Darnold. Aaron Jones, he knows how to run the football and catch a football. Another big game should be coming at least to hit that 10-point threshold. I am firing up an Aaron Jones everywhere I got him. Ty Chandler, high-level risk, not touching it this week until we see at least some dedication to split touches. Then we could talk about Ty Chandler. Right now, he is still one of the better handcuffs. JJ, I just talked about him. You're not even thinking about not starting that, man. Jalen Naylor, Brandon Powell, you can't touch these guys. Even though Naylor does have mid-level PPR upside, someone else has got to take the role. Jalen Naylor, I am a big fan and big supporter of as a secondary wide receiver eventually in this league. I just don't think he's quite there yet. And then Johnny Munt, I don't like it either. High-level risk as he disappointed last week as well, much like most of the tight ends did last week in week number 1. New England Patriots taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Where the hell did that come from, okay? I just don't understand. Cincinnati, okay, like I said, Cincinnati was on strike. They didn't feel like playing, and it was all the rushing upside for a Ramondre Stevenson. This offensive line is supposed to be bad, y'all, and they were opening up holes that a semi-truck could drive through, and Ramondre definitely is that semi. He went into the end zone. 20 points last week was basically the entire Patriots offense, not touching Jacoby. PPR floor on the mid-level risk for an Antonio Gibson. They might start sprinkling him in a little bit, but absolutely the answer is already answered for, or the question is already answered for us. We can absolutely play a Ramondre Stevenson because of the volume upside he is getting, and the fact that Jacoby Brissett is being asked to manage the games rather than take over the games. It's a positive as they control the clock. Tyquan Thornton, KJ Osborne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, not playing any of these gentlemen, not touching it. Where we do have high-level risk, PPR upside for an Osborne. Douglas was basically not even used. There's just not enough from Brissett to trust any of it. Hunter Henry, high-level risk as well. I do not like any Patriot beside a Ramondre Stevenson, as Seattle's defense is quite ball-hawking anyway, and they will come after this pass catchers quite a bit. New Orleans Saints coming off a massive victory versus those Carolina Panthers, where Derek Carr looked like a Derek Carr of old. 21 points. Now he's taking his talents to Dallas, playing these Dallas Cowboys, and we will see what it's like. I mean, Derek Carr, for me, we've seen this story before, blows up the piss-poor teams and then struggles versus top-end teams. While I'm not saying the Cowboys are a top-end team, that defense is still very good. Micah Parsons was all over the field, and he's going to cause havoc for Derek Carr as well. Mid-level risk for that reason that they will be coming with the heat versus a Derek Carr. He could see himself on his back a lot, man. Alvin Kamara, shame on all y'all who dissed me for saying Alvin was washed. Yes, I know there's a couple of y'all in those comments. It's a wink, wink. I know we were just playing around, but I mean, Alvin Kamara on the low-level risk. He was the guy, man. At that ADP, it was like stealing candy from a baby, man. And again, low-level risk, 20 points last week. Absolutely stellar. What was a big surprise was a Jamal Williams, 11 points. At least he got some good rushing upside, but it was as the game was getting out of hand where they did give him a lot more volume. So mid-level risk, I do think they liked what they saw. Maybe it's going to be a nice 1-2 punch with these two running backs. Bounce back for a Chris Olave, CO2, my dude. Low-level risk, they got to get him more involved, especially versus Dallas Cowboys defense. You're going to have to spread the field and get your top playmaker involved in a Chris Olave. I absolutely see a bounce-back game force feeding on the regular, where Rashid Shaheed on the mid-level risk. Okay, he is one of the most strange players to, judge on a weekly basis, because the Dallas Cowboys do defend the deep pass pretty well. So that's why I got to say mid-level, pull it back just a little bit. If he gets behind the defense, we know he can score touchdowns, but it's very difficult to trust on a weekly basis. A.T. Perry, high-level risk, where I got Rashid Shaheed on the mid-level. TD upside on the high-level risk for a Taysom Hill because of the usage of a Jamal Williams. And then Juwan Johnson on the mid-level. Not many targets, but did find his way into the end zone. I'm not a huge fan of Juwan, but I don't hate the start, where Chris Olave, I'm really hoping he does have a breakout this first time this season. New York Football Giants taking on the Washington Commanders, the Commies. It was terrible, man. Danny Pennies, Daniel Jones, he looks worse than ever. And, I mean, I'm trying to be respectful, and you can't. He looks terrible, man. Take away his money and send him packing because the Giants need a quarterback. High-level risk versus the Commies. Even though the Commies didn't look great on defense last week, I'm not trusting anything coming out of this Giants offense where Brian Dable, man, if he had hair, he'd lose it. I'm telling y'all, Devin Singletary, mid-level risk. I thought at least they'd utilize the volume. Just didn't happen either. Can't trust Devin this week. Eric Gray was a non-existent character in this offense where Malik Neighbors, 9.1 points, mid-level risk. He was dealing with an injury, but he's off the injury report, which is good news. So I'm firing up Malik Neighbors just because he's that good. It's like one of those QB-proof wide receivers. Hopefully maybe they can let Neighbors run the football to get us points because Daniel Jones just ain't cutting it. Wan'Dale Robinson, low floor on the mid-level risk, 8.8 points. It's just very difficult to trust. And Theo Johnson, at least we did see him on the field. That is big ups for me. I'm a huge supporter of a Theo Johnson. As long as he starts to get his experience on the field, he's going to turn out to be an absolute gem tight end. High-level risk for him, not starting that quite yet. New York Jets taking on the Tennessee Titans. Week 1, I mean, Aaron Rodgers looked better than Kirk Cousins, even though their point tallies look very similar. 9.6 for an Aaron Rodgers. Not a great show. You know what it was? You even see on the rollouts, he looks stiff. I mean, he's not running with the same fluidity. He's older, and the Achilles is definitely tightened up. I'm going to say low risk this week. I think that Aaron Rodgers, it was nice, shake the rust off the field, and start, at least utilizing a lot of these guys in your offense. Allen Lazard was the biggest benefactor, 23 points, scored a garbage time touchdown to inflate those stats as well. Where it is Breece Hall and a Garrett Wilson, low-level risk. You're obviously firing those guys up everywhere you got them. Where an Aaron Rodgers could be a replacement for a Jordan Love if you got him off the waiver wire. Don't hate the start as well. Allen Lazard, what do we do with Allen Lazard? I'm going to say it's a flex option. If you got him, play him. I think that the way that this defense in Tennessee is, they are good enough to compete, but I do think there is gashable holes where Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson take all the attention, could be the biggest benefit for an Allen Lazard. Mike Williams and Tyler Conklin, don't like it, looking elsewhere this week for those types of positions. Philadelphia Eagles fly, taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Dirty Birds on Monday Night Football, going to be a good one. I'm absolutely looking forward to it. Coming off a big win in Brazil, these Philadelphia Eagles looked good, and it was all leaned upon from my dude, Saquon Barkley. 32 points, baby. Hope you guys listen and got him on your teams this year. I love it. I got him on 3 leagues, and I'm loving life. The teams that I got Saquon on, low-level risk, fire him up everywhere you got him. Jalen Hurts, low-level risk. He will still put up the points. Even though they're not doing the tush-push anymore, they're giving it to Saquon. Jalen Hurts still going to be able to dissect teams. Even though he did have some errant throws last week, he will get that corrected. Even though the secondary in Atlanta is good, and they will challenge Jalen Hurts. I mean, A.J. Brown, he did pop up on the injury report late, so I will update you guys in the comments as I do know on an A.J. Brown, but if he is playing low-level risk, fire him up. Devonta Smith, you got to fire him up as well. Low-level risk. This offense goes through Barkley, Brown, and Smith. With Jalen Hurts being the quarterback, obviously dissecting everybody, you fire up every one of those guys. Jahan Dotson, high-level risk. You didn't even see a sniff at the ball. Couple targets, he just didn't look interested. I mean, it was not good. Jahan, you're failing me, man. Everyone's going to start cussing me because you're one of my dudes. And then Dallas Goedert, PPR floor on the mid-level risk, 5 points. I did, outside of scoring a touchdown, I fully expect anywhere from 4.5 to 7.5 points for a Goddard on any given week. It is not necessarily the greatest. Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Denver Broncos. They grinded the hell out of that win. TJ Watt and company on that defense. This is going to carry this team until Justin Fields gets a little more comfortable. Hey, man, let's talk about this offense real quick. Can you guys allow Justin Fields to throw the football over the middle? That would be absolutely fantastic, man. Not one pass went over the middle of the field for Justin Fields. All to the sidelines, playing it so bloody safe. Take some risks. Justin Fields is not a rookie. He's a good quarterback, and trust him what he can possibly do. Rushing upside on the mid-level risk versus a very stout Denver Broncos defense. At least we could say that. Geno had a big run. I would absolutely exploit the same thing with a Justin Fields, definitely on the mid-level. If you got Justin Fields, you could do a lot worse. I think there is good upside here. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. Man, this backfield is so hard to trust for me. I got them both on the mid-level risk, where Najee a little bit higher, lower floor for a Jalen Warren. Still dealing with that injury. He at least played. but you could tell they nursed him a little bit. Najee does have some upside, 8.4 points, but he's such a risk if he doesn't find his way into the end zone. I find it very difficult until the later stages of the game where they could run the football against the Seahawks or the Broncos defense. We saw what Kenny Walker was able to do in the second half, so Najee starting this week is not terrible over a Jalen Warren. George Pickens, mid-level risk with high caution going up against the Patrick Surtain. We understand it's George Pickens. He can make a play in a phone booth, and he can make anything happen on the field. But for me, temper the expectations, especially if they don't unleash some more usage in this pass game. You got to play him. I get it. You probably drafted him as your wide receiver 2, 3. So I understand flex option is there or wide receiver 3 is there. But it's definitely a cautionary tale for me for a George Pickens. Van Jefferson not touching it. Roman Wilson, rookie. We could see him play his first action. He is a questionable with that ankle injury. If he does get on the field, I'm excited to see it. Not playing it this week. And Pat Freiermuth, the Muth. If it's not going to be Najee Pickens, who else is it going to be? Throw it to the Muth. At least we can get some touchdown upside. I mean, again, but the tight ends just were not great last week. And it should be relatively similar this week as well. 49ers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. No Christian McCaffrey. But was it really a problem? Jordan Mason had an absolute stellar performance, 21 points, 140-plus yards, and a score. He looked damn good, y'all. Brock Purdy, 10 points. He leaned on the ground game, didn't have to do too much on the field, but I think that they're able to at least move the football quite a bit this week. Last week I told y'all to sit a Brandon Ayuk with heavy caution if you're starting him. And he did. 3.8 points, drop touchdown. I told y'all it was just no good. It was the writing was all on the wall, man, for a Debo game, and that's exactly what it was. Now it's going to continue without Christian McCaffrey. Debo's role is going to be like CMC in this offense. Start up Debo everywhere you got him. Mason, fire him up everywhere you got him. I'm even good with a low risk on a Brock Purdy. Abso-freaking-lutely. Isaiah Guerrero, rookie, the running back. We'll see who takes split touches from a Mason. Guerrero is a good one, so we'll see if he does get some touches as well. Ayuk bounce back on the mid-level risk. I do like playing Ayuk this week. I think he's going to be quite pissed off he dropped that touchdown, and he should have a very good day. Juwan Jennings, PPR floor, 8.9 points. I do like Juwan Jennings a lot. I think he's so underrated, and if he got more targets, he would showcase what he is in this league. He is in deeper leagues for me. 14-team leagues, absolutely a flex option for a Jennings. And George Kittle on the mid-level touchdown upside play this week versus a Minnesota defense that will be gashed from time to time. Seattle Seahawks taking on those New England Patriots in New England. Okay, I think New England comes back to life just a little bit, man. No, he did not look good early on. Second half looked a lot better as the defense of Denver did give him problems. Gerard Mayo's got that New England Patriots defense playing well, and Christian Gonzalez, he's a star, man. If y'all don't know him and you're watching this game, you watch a Gonzalez. He locked up the receivers last week like a Jamar Chase, put him in a box and didn't let him escape. Could be the same thing for a DK Metcalf this week. I got Geno on the mid-level risk. I think there is, viable options for him to at least spread the football around, get you 15 points. Not terrible, but we do got Kenny Walker the third. He is out with an oblique injury. That's the biggest problem for a Kenny Walker. He can never stay on the field all the time. Where Zach Charbonnet is going to get the volume upside, low-level risk. Fire him up because he will get the lion's share. Kenny McIntosh does pose as a split-back PPR floor. Do like Kenny as well in deeper leagues. DK Metcalf, mid-level risk. Man, going up against Gonzalez, I can't wait to watch these two go up against it. Mid-level risk, you obviously got to play a DK Metcalf, but it is coming with a lot of caution. Where Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith-Njigba Lockett, he got the chemistry with Geno, and he took all the targets that I knew was supposed to go to a JSN, and it did not happen. So Tyler Lockett above a JSN right now. PPR upside for a little bit, almost a low risk to mid-floor or mid-level risk, where a JSN is low floor on the high level to mid-level risk for me. I am not playing JSN this week, and it's going to bite me. I guarantee you he's going to score a touchdown this week, and I'm going to say, damn it all, I should have played him. But I got to go low floor, mid-level. I mean, if you got the balls to play him this week like I had last week, I failed. Maybe you'll succeed where I failed. Hopefully it does work out for y'all. And Noah Fant on the high-level risk, not liking it, not touching it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers in what could be a shootout versus these Detroit Lions. Bake Show is back, baby. 30 points almost. You fire up a Baker everywhere he got him. So good. And it's such disrespect. He wasn't even drafted in so many leagues. He was a priority waiver wire ad this week. Unbelievable Bake Show. You know what? At least he's humble at this point enough for me to start liking him again. I do like Baker a lot. Rashad White, 13 points. What did I tell y'all again with Rashad? Not so much from the backfield rushing upside, but all in the PPR game. And he just looks so explosive with the ball in his hand in the open field, but I don't know why he doesn't in the backfield. Hence why they allowed a Bucky Irving to run the football a little bit more. Mid-level risk for a Bucky. I'm going to wait another week before I unleash the potential upside for Bucky Irving, but you fire up a Rashad White, fire up Baker Mayfield, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. I don't even have to discuss because Baker's firing them on all cylinders. Fire up both those gentlemen, but Jalen McMillan, my dude, I said, man, this guy could be the biggest slot killer once in this league. I'm telling y'all, he's so damn good. Could have had 2 tutties. One was overthrown from a Baker Mayfield. He still finished with almost 10 points. McMillan is the dude they've been looking for being the third wideout in this offense, and his role will only continue to grow. Hopefully you grabbed him as a bench stash off that waiver wire. Mid-level risk for me. I'm going to say one more week before I start promoting the starts, but if you're in deeper leagues again, McMillan is a decent play. Tennessee Titans taking on those New York Jets. Man, all I see is Will Levis on his knees, holding his head, watching his game go to dust as he threw that pass. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. High-level risk going up against the New York Jets defense that was piss poor versus the 49ers, and they will have an absolute bounce back this week versus Will Levis. They will come with the blitz. They will pressure. They will cover. Sauce Gardner should be back in this contest. Haven't heard anything to suggest that he won't play in this contest. High-level risk for a Will Levis. Tony Pollard did impress me quite a bit. I think I was a little bit underselling him, but against this defense, yes, they did get run over by the 49ers. I don't foresee that happening, but I am okay with starting a Tony Pollard on the mid-level risk. 16 points is nothing to sneeze at, and this man's got some game. Tajay Spears, mid-level to low-level risk, or mid-level to high-level risk for me for Tajay just because of volume. They're going to have to run the football. They're going to have to control the clock like the 49ers did. I just don't see it from both these backs. Maybe Tajay gets a lucky touchdown in the pass game. Very risky for me to play this week. DeAndre Hopkins, not touching it. Low floor coming off that MCL. Don't like it whatsoever. 1.3 points. It's going to happen again this week. It's just not good for me to start D-Hop, man. Calvin Ridley, low upside. Again, anywhere from 5.5 to maybe 10 points this week, but you got to get lucky with a Will Levis throwing him the football and him breaking free. This Jets defense did not look good last week. I won't lie to y'all, but I do believe it's going to be a big bounce back where Tyler Boyd and Okonkwo, both high-level risks, where Okonkwo could have a PPR floor as a safety blanket for a Will Levis. Look in other directions. I do not like it. Washington Commies. Jaden Daniels, fire him up everywhere he got him. I said he was rush upside last week, and he truly was, as that's all he freaking did. I just want this man to learn how to slide. Stop with this somersault roll that you were doing. I do not like it. It's going to get you injured. Almost 30 points in this rookie's first game, but start throwing the passes to your wide receivers. We need points from Terry. I'm telling y'all, fire up Jaden Daniels just like an Anthony Richardson. Rushing upside is absolutely key, and the running game is not going anywhere. Brian Robinson, fire him up everywhere you got him. He is the lead back in this offense with the support of an Austin Eckler. Mid-level risk for me. There's at least good PPR upside, and if Eckler gets into the end zone, absolutely stellar. Could get you 13 to 17 points any given week from Austin Eckler if he finds his way into the end zone. Absolutely love the running game here in Washington. Scary Terry McLaurin, low floor. Even going up against these New York Giants, I got to suggest you got to bench Terry. I mean, what else can I say until we see it? 2.7 points killed you, man. And, okay, they're going to have at least, this is one of these contests, they're going to say, okay, we got to test at least a few more times to Terry. But until Jaden Daniels shows that he's comfortable to at least progress the field off of his first read, I got to bench Terry this week. I'm sorry, got to do it. And if he does hit, I'm going to be happy he hit. I have to do it. I'm not playing Terry this week at all. Diami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, they're still searching for their secondary wide receiver, where at least Zach Ertz, he did get 4.3 points. There is mid-level PPR upside. Safety blanket appeal in this one as well, but also very tough to trust. But there you have it. That is Starts It week number 2. Don't forget to drop your start sit questions in the comments. I will definitely get you back. Any injury updates, I will drop them in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button for me. Helps us grow this channel that much more. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments like I'm saying. And we'll see you next time. I am out.